Good evening. Welcome to the May 1st Baldwin County Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. I'm going to call our meeting to order at this time. And I will ask that if you all will please stand, we'll have a prayer, and then we'll have a pledge of allegiance to the American flag. Father, we're thankful for the blessings of living in this county. And Father, I pray your blessings on our first responders, our county staff, our county workers, all that make this a good place to live. And I pray your blessings on this meeting tonight. We're here to conduct special business, and Father, we just pray that you'll give us insight and wisdom, and just pray that you'll help us to show respect to each other and do our best at what we're asked to do. And we pray all this in the name of Jesus. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. At this time, I'll call roll. Brandon Bias. Here. Robert Davis. Scott Schamberger. Michael Mullick. Here. Greg Seibert. Here. Jamie Stradiger. Diane Burnett.
Here.
Michael Fletcher.
Here.
George Waters.
Here.
And Reed Key.
Here.
So we have a quorum. At this time, each of you have received a copy of the minutes from our April 3rd work session and our April 3rd regular meeting. If you're good with those, I will entertain a motion for the approval of both of those.
So moved.
Seconded.
Mr. Bias has made the motion that we approve the minutes of both those meetings, seconded by Mr. Seibert. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Those minutes are approved. All right, Mr. Dixon, I'd like to give a little intro.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll go over our public hearing guidelines real quick. So we do have several public hearings before the board tonight. Just a little bit of guideline for the public to address the Planning Commission. So the public comment should be made only during the public hearing portion of the meeting. When you come up to the podium over there, state your name and address into the microphone so we can get it on record properly. And it is being recorded, so please speak clearly into the microphone. Then all the comments should be addressed to the chairman of the Planning Commission, and he can disseminate those comments as necessary. Comments should be focused on the application that's being presented at that time, and then comments are limited to 3 minutes per person. And if you're speaking on behalf of a group, you get 5 minutes. Just please let the chairman know what group you are representing. We do have a couple of rezonings on the agenda tonight. You'll see in all the staff reports there are 11 different review criteria that rezonings are reviewed by. One is the application compatible with the development pattern of the area? Two, has there been any changes in conditions since the property was originally zoned? Number three, does it conform to the master plan? Number four, does it conflict with any public improvements? Number five, are there any adverse impacts to traffic? And I say this every month, but just to be clear, that's talking about the transportation network, not any kind of localized improvements that may be necessary when the project develops. Number six, is it consistent with the development pattern of the area? Is it a logical expansion of the adjacent zoning? Is the timing appropriate given development trends in the area? Are there any environmental or historic impacts of the proposed rezoning? And then finally, any adverse impacts to the health, safety, and wellness of the county or vicinity. So you'll have those presented to you. That's how we must review and act on the zoning cases. When it comes to the subdivision cases, the state law is pretty clear that if the subdivision application meets all of our requirements, then the Planning Commission has no discretion no discretion and must approve the subdivision as presented. So it's a little bit more of a technical review on the subdivision side. But with that, I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Dixon? All right. The only thing I will add, as chairman of the Planning Commission, when you have your, by the way, hopefully you signed up to, if you want to speak, you need to do that out front. I will have that information here, and at the appropriate time, I'll call on you to come up and speak, and you'll get your 3 minutes, 5 if you're representing a group. Just know that I will reach a point on each item. We bring them up one at a time and discuss them, and we vote. But we'll reach a point on each item, and I will close the public hearing. Once I close the public hearing, no one will be able to speak on it unless the Planning Commission needs to ask the applicant a question or something. So, all right, with that, we're going to move into our agenda. Our first order of business is what we call our consent agenda. We have quite a few items on the consent agenda. What I will do, I will go through these, and you won't be called up to speak on it at this point. I'm just going to ask a simple question. If I call on the item, and you are here tonight, and you do want to speak on this item, you're opposed to it, or have questions, you need to just raise your hand at this time, let me know that, and I will take it off the consent agenda, and it'll come back up later in the meeting. But if no one raises their hand, we're going to group all of these consent items together, and we'll vote them all at one time. They're usually fairly simple items, but sometimes there are those that have questions, and we take it off. So I'm going to go through this. I'll explain it as we go. The first couple items on our agenda are not public hearings, but I'll go to the next one, which is the SC 25-05. This is the Turner-Thompson subdivision. It's a 4-lot subdivision. Anybody here on that particular item that has a question? All right. The next one is the Barnwell subdivision. This is SC 25-10. Anybody in the Barnwell subdivision have any questions? Or all right, that one stays on. The next one's the SC 25-14. This is a resub of parcel 2 of Grund subdivision. Anybody on this item? Okay. Wills Place subdivision, in our work session, it was decided by some of the Planning Commission members that we would take this item off consent. It will be discussed in the regular meeting. The next one is SC 25-17, Rigsby Estates. Anybody here on that item have a question or opposed to it? That one stays on. The last one is Legacy Hills subdivision. This is a variance request. Anybody, you're here, got a question on it? You want to speak to it? You're opposed or just want to? Okay.
I spoke last time, I'd like to add.
Okay. All right. So we're gonna pull that item from the consent agenda then. It'll come up later in the meeting. All right. So for Planning Commission purposes, we will. I will read these and then I'll ask for the motion. So, on our consent agenda, the following items. Oh, yeah, let me do this. The first two are not a public hearing. We'll vote on these. PER 25-13 Oak Ridge RV Park Extension. The second one is PER 25-16, which is Sunset Ridge Manufactured Home Park Extension. That's not a public hearing. Now I'm going to open the public hearing on the following items. SC 25-05 Turner-Thompson subdivision, SC 25-10 Barnwell subdivision, SC 25-14 resub of parcel 2 Grund subdivision, and SC 25-17 Rigsby Estates. We discussed these in work session and left them on the consent agenda. So with that, there were no questions or comments by the public on this, so I'm going to close the public hearing, and I'll entertain a motion on those items, which include the first two items, which were the extension request. No public hearing on those, but we'll vote on those together.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Okay. Mr. Bison made a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Michael Mullick has seconded the motion. Any questions on the motion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And the chairman, by the way, is voting tonight, and I'm in favor of the consent agenda. All right. Almost forgot, Brenda. All right, we're going to go back now to the two items that were removed from the consent agenda, and we'll bring those up. And I'll open the public hearing on the first one, which is SC 25-16. Well, actually, it's going to be the SPP 25-13, Wills Place subdivision. Correct? Just
Correct.
13.
SPP 25-13.
Okay. Does anybody need to declare prior communication on this item? Okay, Ms. Booth?
Good evening. So we're here for preliminary plat approval for a 9-lot residential subdivision. It is located in Planning District 13, which is currently unzoned. This is your aerial map, your vicinity map. So the subject property is on the east side of Day Road, south side of Channel 44 Road, and north side of Timber Company Road. The applicant owner is Bell Fountain Land Company. They are requesting 9 lots. All lots will front on Day Road. They have 30-foot front rear setbacks and 20-foot side setback. The public utilities is East Central Water, on-site septic, and Baldwin EMC. The fire flow has been met. They did not need a traffic study, and they are located in flood zone X. The only drainage improvements, there are no drainage improvements proposed at this time. They will be required to do common drives, and if we have to discuss that where the locations are so that all lots do have access and that they will meet the access management policy. So there may be some drainage, some changes to the drainage narrative based on those, if there's any pipes required or whatever, that will be included on the drainage narrative. There are 2 wetland delineations that have been provided. The wetlands that are present are on Lot 9. They are non-jurisdictional, and they have the applicable 5-foot buffer shown on the plat. So due to improvements that are going to be required before final plat approval, staff requests the applicant to submit a preliminary plat. So when the notices went out, they went out as SC 25-16, which was for concurrent review. With these improvements, we can't do the concurrent review. We have to have improvements, and we have to have a revised plat the same. So as mentioned before, lots will access from Day Road, which is a locally classified road. Common drives have been requested. And as the lot layout is, it doesn't appear that the lots will meet or have sufficient width between the driveways. So we are looking at recommendations and revisions to the plat, and that can be discussed once we leave this meeting if you so desire. So an extension of the existing water line is required prior to final plat approval, and that will be handled through the Highway Department by utility permitting. And then staff is going to request that Highway provide us documentation, or even an email will suffice, that water line has been approved and has been accepted and the right-of-way has been restored. Let's see. So P&Z and Highway Department staff have been communicating. We have reached out to the applicant. They have provided an updated sketch, but we still have some questions that need to be answered beyond this meeting. So we recommend preliminary plat approval for case number SPP 25-13, approved with conditions, and specific conditions are to provide documentation the water main extension has been installed, provide updated preliminary plat showing the location of common drives and access for each lot, provide an updated drainage narrative as may be determined by staff, submit a commercial turnout permit application for review and issuance of a CTP permit, provide documentation of utility installation that has been installed, and then submit final plat once all improvements have been completed and accepted. If the applicant chooses not to install common drives, the lot layout will need to be reconfigured to show larger lots that will meet the requirements for the access management plan. This may be reviewed and approved administratively unless a major change requires additional planning commission approval, at which time this may come back to the planning commission for your approval if major changes are made. And other than just general conditions, that they do have a 2-year approval from a 2-year approval from tonight's meeting or whenever we approve this, and then they'll submit final plat within the 2 years. And I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
Okay. Any questions for staff?
I do have a question. The accesses to the rear parcel, how wide are those?
I believe as presented on here is 50 foot and the minimum required is 60 foot. So they're going to have to make a change to that. That may affect the required spacing between each driveway, so they may not be able to achieve it. They may need to revise the lot layouts. They may have to do, may end up losing one lot possibly, but that's something that we'll discuss amongst our team and staff.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Is the developer here?
I know I hadn't asked yet.
I believe
Okay.
the applicant's surveyor is here and should be able to answer any other questions you may have.
Okay, thank
Let's see if there's any other questions for staff. Anybody else have any questions for staff? Okay. So is the applicant's representative here that can?
Hey, I'm Trent Wilson with Wygant Wilson Surveying.
Okay. Diane, do you want to ask a question?
I do.
Okay.
Please. How you doing?
I'm good, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. Do you know what the proposed use is for the rear property?
There's nothing at this time.
Why would you provide two accesses 60 feet wide?
Because of the possibility of future development. However,
Right.
currently, there is no sewer in the area, therefore making this development very economically unfeasible at this time.
But you have a 10-inch water line going
Yes,
to
there
this
is a water
property?
line there.
Okay, that's all I needed to
Okay.
know.
Anybody else have any questions for the applicant? Thank you, sir. Don't think we had anybody else signed up, correct? Okay. All right. Anybody have any other questions or comments for staff?
I have one other one.
Okay, go
Sorry,
ahead.
this is for staff. This particular development could possibly have an additional 200 lots, and I really think that now is an opportunity to get additional right-of-way on Day Lane and just something for you to look at.
Yeah, the access has been obviously been a big part of the discussion about this development. We can't speculatively, right now there is no development proposed on the back, but so it would be challenging to require that additional right-of-way until that point, but we certainly need to be thinking about how those 50-foot drives going to the back, interact with the lots that are being platted along the street, because it could certainly create a access issue along Day Road there.
I do want to add one thing. The minimum required right-of-way is 50 foot, and they are being required to provide 25-foot dedicated right-of-way on all three roads. Day Lane, Day Road, Channel 44, and Timber Company, and that's been requested by our right-of-way department. So they have actually shown that on the plat, the 25 foot from the center line of right-of-way, which is currently prescriptive. So from center line to prescriptive right-of-way, they're dedicating their 25 foot as needed. So the additional 25 foot would have to come from the other side, from other property owners, if that should develop later on. But go ahead.
That's not written in your staff report, though, is it?
I don't have that staff report in front of me.
Okay, I didn't see that, so,
And again, the plat may be revised, but as of right now, that has been documented on the plat, that they are dedicating 25 foot from center line to prescriptive right-of-way on all three roads.
Okay. Any other questions,
still not enough.
comments? I don't remember if I closed the public hearing, but I am now, and I will entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion we approved, including staff conditions.
Mr. Bice made a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Mr. Mulligan, second the motion. Any questions on the motion or comments? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Opposed.
Chairman votes yes. Okay, that item is approved. We'll go to our next item that was pulled from the consent agenda. This is item SRP 25-06 and SV-07, Legacy Hill subdivision. We'll open the public hearing for this. Does anybody need to declare prior communication on this item? Ms. Waters?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you stated, this is the consideration for cases SRP 2506 and SV 2507. This is a project located in Planning District 18, currently unzoned. The applicant and property owner is Bell Fountain Land Company. The request here is to remove a parcel, a 70-acre parcel, from the approved preliminary plat that was approved last year in November. I'm going to go through here. Here is your aerial map. Here is the approved preliminary plat. And here is the proposed revised plat, wherein the highlighted blue shaded, I have marked the 69-acre parcel that is being proposed as a remnant parcel. Here is the revised letter from the engineer stating that by removing these 69 acres, this will nor impact or contribute to the drainage facilities of the approved subdivision plat. And my recommendation of both applications are approved with conditions, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
All right, any questions for staff? All right, let me ask first if the applicant's representative is here and wishes to speak.
He's here.
All right, so he's here if you need to ask any questions. And with that, I will then recognize Tom Vosla. Okay, you can come up to the podium.
My name is Tim Voslo. I'm an adjacent property owner at 20804 Brown Lane. I'm across from the fourth phase over there. So I sent you an email back in February, and then you replied.
Yes.
Was that discussed at all?
We discussed it at the work session.
My concerns?
This is a citizen that we talked about with the concern on the road that he referenced as the Thrill Hill connection to one of the entrances not being aligned of the preliminary plat that was approved last year.
So Dubose Road and Brown Lane are about 10 foot out of alignment on the crossroads there. And my concern is at night, you can drive up there in the evening and you can't see another car coming west on 38 until you're at the very top of the hill, very top of the hill. And then conversely, going the other way, you really can't see anybody if you're coming west on 38, coming over the hill. And if there's anybody down there stopped turning right into a proposed subdivision, they will have to put on their brakes pretty fast. And I guess my concern is straightening out the misaligned crossroads there, and then also shaving off. I know they shaved it off, I don't know how many years ago. They shaved off Thrill Hill to make it less acute as far as the ramp. But it's still acute. It's still a ramp. And so I wanted to bring that up. And also turning left on Baldwin Beach Express down at the intersection down there, going south. Right now it's a challenge turning south because there is no turning lane to go south. But also you have to watch for the people coming south. So I wanted to bring those points up.
Yes.
And then also Last time we talked about the servitude, right-of-way, whatever you want to call it, on the west side of Brown Lane. There's some nice trees there right now, and I think that would be a buffer in the future, hopefully. And I just want to make sure that any developers don't just mow those down, because I know sometimes that happens. And then, oh, we're sorry. But then you have a, 25-year-old oak tree that got mowed down. And I'm very concerned about that.
Okay. All right, so let me see if I can get this cleared up. Mr. Voslo, I think most of what you're saying are items that were already, those aren't items we could even, this plat's already been approved.
Yes.
So we're not re-looking at the plat to revise anything that's on it. We're just asked to be, for a very specific thing, just to remove this one parcel out of the subdivision.
I understand, yeah.
So
I guess I'm asking, what is the reason for that parcel being,
I asked the same question. Apparently, it doesn't really make any difference. It qualifies for the request because of the size of it. They don't have to specifically say why. That's one reason I asked if the applicant's rep was here, but I don't know that it would change anything regardless of what he told us. He has a right to remove that if we approve it.
I just didn't know if the percentage of wetlands being removed changes anything else on that at all.
It does not. We
not.
asked that work session about drainage and about common areas, and those things don't apply in this particular case, so it doesn't affect that.
That's right.
So does AlDOT at all?
AlDOT has no objections to this request, but when the preliminary plat was up for review and consideration last year, they did review the proposal. I have reiterated here the specific conditions of the preliminary plat where some roadway improvements will be done at County Road 30A by request from AlDOT at Beach Express, but those are items that they have already stated. We've reviewed that when the preliminary plat was, in front of the Planning Commission last year in November.
Yeah, I remember in November I talked, and that, the right turn lane is a no-brainer. That's an easy one there, but it's going south. That's going to be the issue.
Yeah. As far as I'm aware, there are no roadway improvements on the south side, only the right turn lanes into Beach Express, not going south.
Doing that right turn lane, it will separate the left turn traffic.
Yes.
It will,
Yes.
but I hope there's a light there one day at least, because, I know that's way down the line, but, all right. I want to bring those safety concerns up for the intersection mainly. All right?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right. That's all we had signed up. I'm going to close the public hearing. Anybody else have any question or comments for staff? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
And just
And we have two items.
Yes.
Do we need to do them separately? Can we do them together?
Do they need to vote separately? I would say, yeah, probably yes, since it's a revised plat and variance separately.
All right.
Two motions?
So do the variance first.
Yes.
All right. So let's take SV 25-07. This is the variance request. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion that we approve the variance request.
Michael Fletcher has made a motion that we approve the variance request. Do I have a second?
Seconded.
Greg Seibert seconded the motion. Any questions on the motion? Comments? All in favor say aye. Aye. Chairman votes aye also. So that's approved. So now SRP 25-06, this would be the revised site plan for Legacy Hill subdivision. Do I have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion we approve the revised site plan.
Plat.
Excuse me, revised plat.
Okay, Mr. Cypress made a motion that we approve. Michael Bullitt has seconded the motion. Any questions on the motion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion, chairman votes aye also. Okay. All right, our next item is not a public hearing, but this is the PER 25-15, the BFLC Lawrence Creek subdivision. This is an extension request. Does anybody need to declare a prior communication on this item? Okay?
All right, so
Ms.
this
Mitchell?
is, yes, sorry. This is Plan District 13, it is unzoned. This was, the smallest lot was 3 acres, the total was 76 acres. And the preliminary plat was approved on May 4th in 2023. The reasons for extension, they need more time for obtaining ALDOT permits, installing turnouts, and to gather signatures on the plat. I put a timeline on there. So in January of '24, ALDOT reviewed the plans and asked for additional information. July of that year, the applicant had not submitted the bond for improvements, and the project was withdrawn from ALDOT. And then when we informed them in April that it would expire, they reached out and said that they would resubmit to ALDOT, but had not at that point. And I just want to go, I put a copy of the correspondence. These are just some emails that just showed the request. We're discarding everything for the submittal on our end. The project is canceled. So I just wanted to stress that before I get back to my recommendation. So the staff recommendation was to deny the extension based on the fact that the driveway was never installed and the project was actually canceled, and so no progress was made. So again, our recommendation is denial, but if the Plan Commission decides to approve the extension, the new due date would be Tuesday, May 5th. So I just want to have both scenarios in there. So we recommend denial, but if you should approve it, this would be the extension deadline.
Okay. Questions for staff? Okay. This is not a public hearing, but is the applicant here that you want to address the Planning Commission on this one?
Trent Wilson with Wagon Wilson again. My client on this one decided not to move forward with the project for a short time, but he is now ready to move forward with the project again. We can certainly make application for another subdivision if needed, but I don't foresee a problem with getting that approved. I think it still meets all the current regulations. So rather than do that, if we could just get this extension, the ALDOT permit, I believe, has already been resubmitted. Noah with Lieb Engineering's here and can answer any questions about that permit if needed.
Okay. All right. Any questions? Thank you, sir. All right. I'm sorry.
Let's see if we can call Chris, who's here.
I just want to make one comment. If it is true that if it is denied, they will reapply and it'll be evaluated under the new subregs. And just glancing at, I'm not sure if this lot would meet the buildable area requirement to meet. They need 40,000 square feet of uplands, and I don't have the numbers in front of me. I'm just saying, like, just glancing at it, there might be an issue, but it could meet the newest, but it would be under the new regs if it's reevaluated. Do you have the numbers?
I'm not for certain, but I believe we evaluated that previously.
Because I know we used to allow less than that. I think if you had 20,000, you could put a note on it, but I don't know that that was in that category.
But I believe it does.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I don't have Adobe in here to measure it.
Okay. Any questions for staff? Any other comments?
Can we ask if anybody from Lieb Engineering is here?
Is Chris here tonight? He usually is.
I think it would be helpful to know if they can confirm if that ALDOT permit has been applied for.
Noah Bird with Lieb Engineering.
Do you know whether that permit has been reapplied for?
It has.
Through ALDOT? Okay.
I
thank you.
believe we applied for it last week.
Okay. All right, so you know what the request is for. You have staff given the option here. They're recommending denial, but have conditions going either way. So I will entertain a motion.
Can I ask a quick question of staff?
Sure you can.
I'm sorry. Did you get correspondence from the applicant that they were not going to move forward, or just because they didn't respond to the ALDOT emails and things like that? Can you clarify?
Right. This is the correspondence between the applicant and ALDOT where they canceled it. And then to us, they had said, we need to update the dates and resend everything back to them, but at that point, it had not been done. They just said, we will reapply.
Okay, thank you.
Okay? If no other questions, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we deny the extension request for PR 25-15.
Okay, Mr. Seibert has made a motion to deny the request. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, Ms. Burnett has seconded the motion. Any questions on the motion? Any comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Opposed. All right. I think I heard more than one side. Just out of caution, I'd do a roll call.
Mr. Bias?
Nay.
Mr. Mullick?
Yes.
Mr. Seibert?
Yes.
Ms. Burnett?
Yes.
Mr. Fletcher?
Opposed.
Mr. Waters?
Yes.
Mr. Key?
Yes.
Mr. Pumphrey?
Mr. Chairman votes yes.
Motion carries.
Okay? Okay. We go to our next item. This is a public hearing. I'm going to open the public hearing now on case number SRP 25-05. This is the Firefly Commons condos. Does anybody need to declare prior communication on this item? Ms. Mitchell?
All right. So this was, this is for a 12-unit, formerly townhome community. They're converting it to a condominiums, 1.98 acres. And this was originally in Fairhope's Planning Commission. It was approved by Fairhope in 2020. And then we granted administrative approval in 2023. They completed construction, recorded the final site plan, and now they're asking to request to convert to condominiums. So, the applicant has submitted the required documents and revised site plan as required by Alabama Condo Code Act of 1991. Most of the revisions deal with the landscape buffer. I'll show you that before I get to the recommendations. So now that this area is both zoned, excuse me, and under the new subdivision and zoning regulations, we have more stringent buffer requirements than we did back at the time of initial approval. But since this, again, is coming in as a new application, we're approving under the new documents. So this should be a 25-foot buffer here. This one should be 15, and this one should be 25. So we're just asking that the landscape plan be revised. And getting back to the recommendation, us to revise the landscape plan as requested, add a certificate for the Baldwin County Planning Commission. There's just a missing certificate. And then record the revised site plan and all related condo documents. So those basically replace what was there previously.
Okay. Any questions for staff? Brandon, you get that one. Okay. Is the applicant's representative here on this one? You want to speak?
Good afternoon. Aaron Collins, SE Civil. We did get the landscape redone. We just got it back this afternoon from the last set of comments we had made. We will get all of the plantings installed. Once staff's had a chance to review and approve those landscape plans, we will move forward with installing those improvements.
Okay. Anybody have any questions? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I have no one else signed up? Oh, was under old business? Oh, okay. All right. Closing the public hearing. Does anybody else have any questions or comments for staff? Entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve, including staff conditions.
Mr. Bias made a motion to approve. Do you have a second?
Second.
Is that Diane? Ms. Burnett has seconded the motion. Any comments, questions on the motion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Chairman votes aye, so motion carries. Okay, now we're going to enter to our rezoning cases. We have quite a few of these. So our first one, we'll open the public hearing for case number Z25-09, Parker Property. Does anybody need to declare prior communication on this item? Okay. Ms. Boykin.
Okay. This is a request for rezoning from RSFE, Estate Residential, to B2 Neighborhood Commercial. The subject property is located in Planning District 15, north of Pleasant Road and east of County Road 13. It's currently zoned RSFE, Estate Residential, and the applicant is asking that it be rezoned to B2 Neighborhood Business. The parcel is about 10 acres, and the request is for future commercial development. Here you can see the subject property is highlighted. To the west, it is zone B2. To the north and east and south is RSFE, Estate Residential. Most of the adjacent properties are vacant. To the south is a church. The subject property is located in Planning District 15, which adopted a zoning map in 2006. Since that time, there has been numerous developments in the area, including several annexations by the city of Daphne. The future land use map indicates this area as having a high-density development potential, which is suitable for all land uses described in the previous land use categories and offers the greatest potential for mixed-use communities. Staff has recommended approval of the RSFE to B2.
Okay. Any questions for staff? Okay. I have Mr. Parker signed up to speak.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. I'm Dean Parker. The 10 acres that is there is farmed right now, has pine trees on it actually. What we're wanting to do is down the road, if we get the opportunity, we'd like to be able to build a building there across from the church, something that would be presentable to the area, and where we could lease it to businesses or one business possibly. My aunt, she owns 30 acres to the east of me. Our family owns 40 acres to the west of me. My brother owns acreage to the north side of me, and then the church is across the street to the south. So topographically, I was talking with Stuart Smith at GMC, and he was telling me that a lot of times if you're trying to do something, having that for water movement's a good idea, but the water that's there doesn't pose a problem on that 10 acres as it moves. But that's the reason we want to have it rezoned, put a building on it.
Okay. Any questions for the applicant?
Were you under a contractual relationship with Stewart when he provided you that information?
Am I what?
Are you under a contractual relationship with Stewart? Okay.
No, he's just somebody I know.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
You may not understand why you asked that. All right, that's all I had signed up to speak. I'll close the public hearing. Any questions, comments? I'll entertain a motion on this item.
I make a motion that we make a recommendation to approve this rezoning.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Burnett. I'm glad you said it that way. This is a recommendation to the county commission, and she is making a recommendation for approval.
Seconded.
And Mr. Seibert has seconded the motion.
Mr. Chairman, can the record reflect I will not be voting for this case?
You recusing yourself?
Yes.
Okay. All right. All right. Any questions or comments on the motion? Everybody understand the motion? It's a recommendation to the county commission to approve the request. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Chairman votes aye. So the motion carries. Okay. Our next case, we'll open the public hearing for Z25-10 Bayview Partners LLC, Loveless Property. Does anybody need to declare prior communication on this item? Okay, Ms. Boykin?
This is a rezoning, to rezone from RA, Rural Agriculture, to MHP, which is a manufactured housing park. The subject property is located in Planning District 31. It is just north of Highway 90 and west of the Beach Express. They're requesting 2 parcels to be rezoned. The total acreage is 15.9 acres. One of the parcels is currently used as a manufactured housing park, and they are looking to expand this. As you can see, the subject property is zoned RA, Rural Agricultural. It's surrounded by some RA zoning. To the south is some RMF6, and also across 90 is RA. There is a church to the west side, and there is also another mobile home park to the south. The subject property is located in Planning District 31. It was zoned in 1995. The future land use map does show this area as moderate development potential. Staff believes the proposed amendment appears to be a logical expansion and aligns with the existing development patterns in the area. Therefore, staff has recommended approval from RA to RMH.
Okay. Any questions for staff? Okay. And staff, do we have anybody signed up? Because it doesn't say. I just saw the surprised look on her face, so I'm going to say no. She didn't have to. All right. First person is Andrew Carver.
Hi, I'm Andrew Carver. Thank you for your time. I live near there. I'm not an adjacent parcel owner, but I do have a concern with a mobile home park being brought into the area. We already have a number of subdivisions approved in the area for single-family residential homes. I am a realtor by trade. I do understand that development is important. I do not think another mobile home is a good idea in this area. Further to that, a simple conversation with local law enforcement, they will tell you that the majority of the calls they work are in current mobile homes. And so whilst there may be grandiose plans for the greatest mobile home park ever invented, the reality is they eventually deteriorate and they are not a benefit to the community. So that's just what I wanted to say. And
Okay.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Ben Heaton.
Thank you for hearing me. Ben Hedden from 23632 Cowling Road, one of 9 adjacent parcels, and the only one that's adjacent to both of the parcels on this application. I purchased my home in 2018 and have seen the trend in the area of growth, and I expect more growth, but all of the other construction in the area have been single-family dwellings. The yellow parcels on this map covered up by the subject properties label are all, except maybe one, recently added single-family homes. And I believe that the trend and the timing of development in this area is consistent with the demand for single-family dwellings. I don't think we need the density of another 95 trailers in this area. The parcel on the corner that is current use as a manufactured home park has 5 homes on it that were presumably grandfathered in from 1993 or whenever this came under county zoning. I don't believe that they establish a trend. I don't believe they establish a timing pattern for the current market. And I would prefer to see some development with less density than the proposed one.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, it's not signed up, but is the applicant's representative here that would want to speak?
Good evening. I'm Joe Azzarisi, Azzarisi and Associates, 4297 County Road 6, Gulf Shores, Alabama. The developer of this property has shown me brochures. He's looking at Clayton Homes. What he showed me doesn't even look like a mobile home with the exception of the low pitch roof. It looks like high-end homes, and he plans on removing what's there now and making this a high-end community, and he will be leasing the property himself and maintaining it himself.
Okay. Any question for the applicant's representative? Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you.
All right, that's all I had signed up to speak. I will close the public hearing. Any other questions for staff? Ms. Boyd, can you have anything else to add?
I do not. This is the rezoning. They will have to come back for site plan approval and PUD approval through subdivisions.
They get the rezone, yeah.
Yes.
Okay. This is a recommendation to the county commission, so I'll entertain a motion. Wait, I'll close the public hearing if I didn't do it. I always forget. I'll close the public hearing. Entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we recommend approval to the county commission.
Okay, Mr. Cybers made a motion that we recommend approval. Do I have a second? Ms. Burnett seconded the motion. Any questions, comments on it? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Opposed.
All right, roll call.
Mr. Bias?
Aye.
Mr. Mullet?
No.
Mr. Seibert?
Yes.
Ms. Burnett?
Yes.
Mr. Fletcher?
Yes.
Mr. Waters?
Yes.
Mr. Key?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay. Now I'll open the public hearing for case number Z25-12, the Ewing property. Does anybody need to declare prior communication on this item? I thought you were leaving us, Ms. Bates.
Yes, stepped away. I had it open on my computer. So this is Z2512, the Ewing property. They're asking to rezone from an RSFE to an RA. The subject property is located north of County Road 20 and west of Stuckey Road off of Fell Road. It's located in Planning District 22. The current zoning's RSFE, which is residential single-family estate. They're requesting RA, rural agricultural. It's 20.1 acres. The applicant's request is to rezone so they do not have a size requirement for a second dwelling. I didn't receive any agency comments. I did have a few phone calls from the adjacent property owners, just stating that there were some deed restrictions and possible covenants and restrictions on the subdivision that the lot's in. Here's the locator map showing the adjacent zoning and the site map. So the criteria for the rezoning amendments are outlined in 19.6 of the Baldwin County zoning ordinance. Staff carefully considered all of these factors during the evaluation of this application. The subject property is situated in Planning District 22, which was adopted in November of 2002. Since that time, local conditions have seen minimal changes, with only a few land use modifications in the surrounding area, including rezoning from RA to RSFE for this particular development in 2006. The prevailing development pattern in this vicinity is primary agricultural and estate-size residential lots. The property is within a platted recorded subdivision. The subject property is 20.1 acres. I think I put 21 as a typo. The request being made is to change to an RA rural agricultural to later be able to build a second dwelling with no size limitations. The majority of the parcels along Fell Road are designated as RA, and the future land use map has it as moderate development potential and ideal conservation preservation. So the proposed zoning RA would create an opportunity for less dense and a rural agricultural environment. Again, they're asking for RSFE to RA, and unless information to the contrary is revealed at the public hearing, staff feels that the application should be recommended as approval, and I'll go back and answer any questions that you may have.
Okay. Any questions for staff? Okay. I have a few signed up on this one. Those in opposition, I'll start with Jeff Winters.
Good evening. I'm Jeff Winters. I actually own two parcels that are directly adjacent to the property to the east that is zoned RSFE. My wife and I purchased that property several years ago while I was still on active duty as our retirement home. And everything was zoned RSFE, and that's what we decided that we wanted for our final destination. We are opposed to this rezoning due to the fact that if RA is allowed, there are no restrictions. They could actually change it to 7 homes, 10 homes on that 20 acres behind my property. So I'm opposed to it. The Planning and Zoning Commission had actually made this to be an estate zoning. That's why we purchased it there. And to change it will actually adversely impair my financial security and my emotional well-being with impacts of increased traffic and a possibility of further increased traffic by further subdividing it into smaller parcels. So I am opposed. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, sir. I also have Lois Stricker.
Thank you for this hearing. I'm Lois Stricker. I am also directly tied to this property. I am Jeff Winter's neighbor. I am in a separate subdivision. There were several subdivisions in the area that had gone in. The property that they bought, it's new neighbors, it's the fact that that lifts all restrictions on the property. Everybody around there, everybody in the area, it's all basically single housing. If you go down the road, there's big homes, there's little homes, but everybody is still getting along, everything's fine. The other thing is the way that they want to do it, if they were to turn it agriculture, right to the heart of their property, bordering between my subdivision and Jeff's subdivision, there are big, huge trunk power lines. And right now, we are to the point, he has his fence, I have my fence. We actually have left a gap in case the power company ever has to get back there to service anything. But if that all becomes, you're going to have power, if there is actually an outage and they have to go through there, because it's not the normal power lines, it's those big, huge concrete trunk lines run right through the border of that property. So let's say they do turn it agriculture, let's say they do plant it. They're going to have, if you get a bad storm or a hurricane, they're going to have trucks getting stuck back there trying to service the power line. That was taken in consideration previously when they had done the earlier development of the plots. I actually happened to run into somebody and saw one of the previous developments. So besides, you don't think that they're doing it for the wrong reasons. The problem is you can't ensure what's going to happen after they're gone. And most of us that are on that road we're either settled and there's a lot of kids on the road. But that would completely impact the entire fiscal tax base of the area. So that's really all I have to say.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Chad Neal?
Hello. Yeah, my name is Chad Neal. I'm at 26329 Eagle Trace, which is lot number 2, which is directly adjacent and to the south, actually bordering this property. So much like what everyone's already said, I think this being a part of a subdivision, it's concerning to me that you can change one lot out of a subdivision. My thought is that it could possibly, set a bad precedent moving forward, that one lot can change, and what does that mean for the remaining lots within the subdivision? And also that it really changes the original intent of the subdivision, which we bought into, and then we invested in, and I think others have also mentioned the very same thing. And then finally, I would say my biggest concern is any kind of further subdivision, and that's certainly something that I'm adamantly opposed.
Okay, thank you, sir. Okay, I had Mr. Sam Epperson signed up neutral. Do you would like to speak?
My name is Sam Epperson. I live in the same subdivision as the one that's up for rezoning right now. I am actually in lot 7. That is lot 1 that's up for call. One of the things that I wanted to make sure that we talked about is that this is already in a subdivision. We bought into this subdivision because it already had an established RSFE zoning, and it had some deed restrictions that went along with it. So it's a unique property. It's 20 acres. There's 7 of them. So it's actually unique to the area and something that's actually quite attractive. Our biggest concern, as we go down the road here, is that by changing this to an RA, will we eventually get to, okay, now that it's already an RA, can we split it a little bit further? Can we break them up? And that really takes away from the entire properties that we all bought, we've invested in, we've built our homes, and this is what we planned on. So that is one of the primary issues I wanted to point out. In addition, does any of that, I don't know all the laws here, but even if it gets split or more homes get put on it, whatever the case may be, by moving it to this RA, does the deed restrictions move with that property too? Because they're pretty strict. And as you know, no mobile homes, no manufactured homes, anything like that. And you can't live in a camper more than 6 months while you're building a house. There's some really good deed restrictions in there that actually protect the property. And I don't want it to move away from that because, again, that's the value of the property and why we bought it. Can the plant, one of the things that even Mr. O'Neill pointed out earlier is that, it seems quite unfair that, that one individual can change their zoning which not only sets a precedent for anyone else who comes along, because there are still some lots on there or in that subdivision that have not been built on. The ones that are there, the 3 that have been built on, have built the single residences, and you know, some have built fences. It's quite nice out there. So we don't want to really get away from that, because that was what we had all planned on. So does that deed follow it with those restrictions, and, you know, or is that going to change as well? You know, when you look at it, you say, you know, I don't want to run out of time here, but when you look at it and you look, if this was happening at Glen Lakes, would we even be having this conversation? You know, they're in a subdivision as well. Can anybody in Glen Lakes change their zoning in order to do something they want to do that is not what was intended for the property? I guess to sum it all up really is that we want to make sure that we don't create an avenue for future splitting of the property by making a decision that's preventative now. And then will the property still be subject to the deed restrictions that are there that create the value that we all invested in? And this does this set a precedent going forward that we don't want?
Okay, thank you,
you.
sir. And then I believe Miss Nicole Ewing is the applicant, so.
Property owner. Actually, let me see if I can address all this. Regardless if it's RSFE or RA, we can still build 2 homes. Our deed on our, the information on our deed says our house has to be at least 1,800 square feet. No mobile homes, as one of them had stated. So we're wanting to move it to RA for the only reason of we are putting the second home on the property, but we don't want a size limitation. So my son is going to be building a house around 3,000 square. We have 20 acres. It's huge. It's humongous. Nothing will be, I mean, we already know that Baldwin EMC is still going to have their, I mean, there's like a clear line going through. There's the whole 20 acres, and then, like you said, they've all trimmed around their fences and all so that the power lines are available for Baldwin EMC. That's not where our houses will even be built. There's one that's going to be built around the corner, closer to Stuckey Road, and then one a little further down from, there's like the second house down on the property. So there will be no obstruction for Baldwin EMC. Like I said, the only reason we want to move to RA is just for the fact of that size restriction. We can still have 2 homes on our property, regardless. We just have to have a minimum. We can only build 60% of the size of the first home, which would make it like 1,800 square feet. And they're going to be, you know, they'll be spread far apart. They're not going to be, you know, right up next to each other. So there's a lot of room for 2 houses. The whole purpose of this and what we've been told, because we can't divide our property. It's already been divided. So that's out of the question. We can't divide it. We've tried it. And we cannot be divided. It's been turned down and denied many times. So our other option is to put that second home on the property without a size restriction, because both homes will be roughly 3,000 square feet, far apart from one another. So Baldwin EMC is not even a question of them getting to what they need to. There's a wide opening for that.
Okay. That's it. Hang on. Since you're the applicant, anybody have any questions? Ms. Ewing?
Yes, one question. I think that 60% rule has changed, hasn't it?
No, it still applies to RSF. In this planning district, it's a local provision.
It applies to RSFE.
Okay, thank you.
It's in the local provision for Planning District 22 that they have to have 60%, and they're zoned RSFE. That's why she's asking for the rezoning to RA, because in RA, if you have over 3 acres, then you can have whatever size dwelling you want.
So what changed, Mr. Fletcher, was
Just
we had a blanket 60% rule across all zoned areas. That went away, but there are still 2 or 3 local plan districts that have local provisions with the 60% rule that still applies. This is one of them.
Yeah, we can still have two homes what it's zoned now, but with all the information that everybody's been here so kind to answer and help us through this process is the only other option, so that our second home is not limited, being our deed says the minimum home can be 1,800, the minimum size, 1,800 square feet, no pigs, no, no mobile homes. It will not be a mobile home, so the only other option, with all the people that we spoke with did say that we would have to zone it RA just for the size, the purpose of the size limitation. And that's it. Nothing else is going to change. We still have to, I know that we still have to follow our deed restrictions on.
Okay?
Okay?
Thank you, ma'am.
Sure.
I have a
Do you have a question for her or for somebody?
Couldn't a variance be applied for?
There's no hardship. I mean, a variance would not be supported because there's no, it's a self-imposed hardship, so it's not anything that was not self-imposed. The desire to have a bigger house is self-imposed. It's not, that's not a true hardship.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
All right. That's all I had signed up to speak. Bates, you have anything else you need to add?
Yes, sir.
Nope. Okay. Anybody else have any questions or comments? Okay, this will be a recommendation to the county commission. I have a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve, including staff conditions. To recommend approval, I apologize.
All right, Mr. Bice made the motion that we recommend approval to the county commission. Have a second?
Seconded.
Mr. Seibert seconded the motion. Any questions on the motion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Opposed.
Opposed.
Okay. Roll call.
Mr. Bias?
Aye.
I'm sorry. can you
Yes. Sorry. Mumbling doesn't help.
repeat? Mr. Mullet?
No.
Mr. Seibert?
Yes.
Ms. Burnett?
No.
Mr. Fletcher?
Yes.
Mr. Waters?
Yes.
Mr. Key?
No.
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Chairman can't vote on this item because I cannot create a tie. So I will, the motion carries. Okay. And just for a reminder for those that came for this item, and this is for all the rezoning cases, just a reminder, we're making a recommendation to the county commission. This goes to the county commission. There'll be another public hearing at that point to consider this again. So just know that if you have an interest in speaking to that, you can go to their meeting also. All right. We'll open the public hearing now for case number Z25-14, the Blair Mantle property. Does anybody need to declare prior communication on this item? Okay, Ms. Boykin.
All right, this is a request to rezone from RSF1 single family to RSF4, which is also single family. The subject property is located in Planning District 25. It's north of State Highway 180, north of Gulf Beach Drive. There are two lots, and they both consist of .55 acres as a total. Here you can see the two properties that are highlighted. They are zoned RSF1 and are asking to go to RSF4. As you can see, around the subject properties, it is zoned RSF1, and to the north is the bay. Staff has looked at all considered all the issues and factors with this rezoning request. Planning District 25 does have some unique local provisions when considering rezonings. When we consider rezonings, there is a coastal high hazard area in Fort Morgan, which the subject property is located in, and any increases in density and intensity through rezoning or similar land use changes in the coastal high hazard area are prohibited. And then also rezoning considerations in the flood hazard areas. This is also increases in density and intensity through rezoning or similar land uses. Changes in the flood hazard area should be limited to low density and single family uses. That is why staff has recommended denial of this request. If there's any other questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
Okay, any questions for staff? And I'll ask staff again to update me. Is there anybody signed up for this item? I'm waiting for them to come up on the screen here. Okay. I have all in support, so it's up to you if you want to come speak on these. This is Tony Mandel.
There, I'm Tony Mandel of the Mandel lot. Micah Blair owns 2 lots, so they said it's a RSF1, which means 1 house per 100 foot. But if you could look at the map, if you put that, no one has 100 foot. Not one person has a 100-foot lot. Micah Blair, the one that the subject property, has 2 50-foot deeds. He's got the deeds with him. He wishes to sell me. He has deed 48 and 49, and I have deed 50. So he wishes to sell me half of 49, making it, we're doing away with a lot. We're not adding anything. I have a permit. I've already approved to build a garage on my property. I'm laying out my garage in front of my house, and I've got it now 14 feet wide where we don't open the door and see the garage, and my wife didn't want to see that. So he volunteered to sell me part of his lot, and he has 100 foot, 2 50-foot lots. So I was going to purchase 20 foot from him, and he was going to keep 30. So we're not making more lots, we're making less. We're turning 3 lots into 2 lots. And I hope to die there, not anytime soon, but at some point. So we're not trying to rezone for any purpose. Zoning wouldn't let us get a variance to buy his lot, and that's all I want it to do. I don't want to, we're not trying to do anything nefarious or build another project. So I'm just trying to get a little extra space to build a garage, and that's pretty much the gist of it. He has a lot, and he has money. Everybody. Matter of fact, I have 14 of the 21 lots. All these people on this have signed these affidavits, signed and lettered in agreements for us to purchase the lot, because no one there knew they have RSF1. Not one person knew that was a condition. I found this out when I was trying to purchase the lot. They said, oh, you can't do it. This is RSF1. These houses have been there since the 60s, but the weird thing is they have built 8 new houses since the zoning's gone into effect on 50-foot lots. So I don't know how you have RSF1 if they've issued 8 new building permits on a 50-foot lot. It seems like the whole street should be what it is, because these are 3rd-generation houses, and I don't know, you can't take them away from people. The guy at the zoning told me at the meeting, we've been to 2 of them, and he said, if your house burns down, there's a chance you can't never rebuild it. We could stop you from building it. He said that at the meeting. He also said, if y'all rule in my favor, this could wind up in court. So he told the panel there, and they're volunteers. I know, I appreciate that, but they're there before we get there, so I don't know what goes on. But he tells them if they rule in our favor, this whole thing could end up in court. So at that time, a few minutes later, he says, let's just strike that from the record. So that's
that's kind of all I got to say on it.
Okay, thank you, sir. John Green?
My name is John Green. I'm an owner of 8063 Gulf Beach Lane, which is the lot actually is a 75-foot lot west of Lot 53. Lot 53 is the last platted lot in this district or in this community. I have I have a 75-foot lot, and I have a 50-foot lot. I'm okay. I have a 50-foot lot, Lot 53, which is vacant. So you're telling me, on these rules, that my Lot 53 is worthless? It has no value? It's 50 foot, nobody can use it, can't sell it to anybody. I never knew this. So I don't understand. Why can't you rezone this like it should be? Everything there is 50 foot. My 75-foot lot is really I have two deeds for it. A 50-foot deed that was purchased that was done in 1960, and one done in 1973. Now it's where a 25-foot was put to it. And I've got the deeds with me today if you want to see them. I just don't understand why a person can't do something with their lot like Mr. Blair's trying to do with Mr. Mandel. This does not make sense. Again, I have a vacant lot that's sitting there, and you're telling me the way it's presently set up, I can't use it. My daughter can't use it. It's just going to sit there and fallow all this time. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Rich? Is there a Mr. Rich that wanted to speak? Okay. That's all I had signed up to speak then. Or is there somebody else? Okay, come on up.
Michael Blair, 8113 Gulf Beach Lane. As Mr. Mandel said, we were sitting around about a year ago. He showed me where he was going to build his garage and everything, and I've got the other lot sitting there, and I'd rather for him to cut the 20 foot than me to have to cut it and water it. It'd be cheaper for me. So we just talked about it, and I said, maybe I can help you and sell it, and you can have a little bit more room and not be right in your front door. So that's basically how all this come about in about August 23. And I purchased 22 and am a full-time resident that live there. So basically that's all I got to say, and just back up what he was wanting to do.
Okay.
Thank y'all.
Thank you. All right, that's all I have, so I'm going to close the public hearing. Ms. Boyd, can you add any comments?
Yes, I do.
Please do.
The subject property is zoned RSF1. The applicant did ask for a variance for the lot width and minimum lot size. The BOA denied them because there was not a hardship. You have to justify a hardship. All these lots have always been zoned RSF1 or R1A when District 25 became zoned. We wouldn't deny anybody from building a residential home on their property. They would have to meet the setbacks, which is 10 on the sides, 30 front and rear. And that's the same for RSF1, RSF2, 3, and 4, and 6. They have 10, 10, 30, 30. So if they couldn't meet those setbacks, that we would consider that a hardship because these are lots of record, and they could ask for a variance for that.
So that last item addresses the gentleman's concern about his 50-foot lot. There's not a denial to build on your lot. You just got to meet the requirements of the zoning. He can build on it, it's got to meet setbacks.
Correct, yes.
Celine, was there a recommendation from the Fort Morgan Planning and Zoning Advisory
Yes, we
Committee?
didn't, let me see. We didn't get it until lunchtime today, but the advisory committee, it says the vote was unanimous and the following items were noted. Upzoning is not permitted. We would never allow such a radial upzoning in the middle of RSF1, and we believe there is no reason or justification for this request.
Okay.
Selena,
Okay.
would you, I'm sorry.
No, yeah, I'll let you get with staff afterwards, based on. All right, any other questions?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Staff, this is 2 lots or just 1 lot?
There's 2 lots. Hang on, let me get back to the site map. There's 2 lots, but I believe the one to the east might be 2 lots, but they're combined. So that was originally 2 lots of record, but they were combined to one
So
parcel.
it's not 3 lots of record, it's 2
It's three.
and the,
It's 3 lots of record.
record.
There's 3 deeds there. So
Yes.
So basically, you could build a house on each 3 of those lots.
Right.
What you can't do is rearrange the lot sizes that don't meet the zoning requirement yet.
So the wider lot to the east,
So if-
I'm not, the lot of record line might be going through that home that's on that subject property.
so there's 3 homes and 3 lots?
No, there's
No.
only 2
Two
homes,
homes.
but there's 3 lots of record
Mhm.
that technically could be built on, yes.
So the first gentleman that came up said there were 3 lots, and there are 3 lots,
Yes.
not just 2, and they're trying to eliminate 1 lot, 1 parcel.
They're trying to reconfigure the 3 lots into 2 lots, but what that does is that creates 2 new non-conforming lots. So basically, when these situations happen, is that the configuration of the lots of record just have to stay in place until a rezoning, or if a rezoning happens. And this requiring an upzoning in an area that is explicitly prohibited in the local provisions is.
Right, so I'm still, my question is, if they removed a parcel, there would be 2 non-conforming lots still?
Yeah.
Not setback, but size-wise?
That's correct. So
Is that correct?
We can't approve an exemption that's creating non-conforming lots.
Right.
They can just continue to be legal non-conforming lots. Removing the lot line is an exemption from the subdivision process.
But none of the parcels meet the minimum?
No, that entire neighborhood does not meet the minimum, which is very common on Fort Morgan.
Right. So there is a solution probably for the locals to look at different lot sizes for their area?
Well, I mean, the solution really is that lot can't be reconfigured. That 50-foot lot that's in the middle, that's vacant, can either be sold, it really has to be sold as a whole to one. They can't be divided amongst the 2. Because we're re-subdividing legal which we can't, it has to remain legal non-conforming, that has to stay in its current configuration. So when you change that configuration, you're intensifying the non-conformity, which we're not allowed to do.
I understand, but you're really not intensifying nonconformity if you make 2 parcels out of 3. But I get it, so.
Okay, any other questions by the planning commission? No other comments? All right, this will be a recommendation also to the county commission, so I'll entertain a motion on this item.
I'll make I'd like to recommend that the county commission approve the What's it going to, RSF 4?
Yes.
Yes.
Can we do that? If we know that we're going to violate,
I mean, you could make whatever recommendation you want, yeah, but it's, the county commission is going to, they're going to consider it under their, under the same presentation we've had here, and we'll see what they decide, but,
okay.
so since this is just a recommendation, yes, you can recommend
All right.
whatever you want.
So Mr. Fletcher's made a motion that we recommend approval of this request to the county commission. Do I have a second? Sure.
Just for clarification, how are we calculating density in this? What's the definition of density in this equation? Is it the number of developable units per acre?
No, it's lot size.
Okay. And so the RSF 4 would be consistent, this acreage of these two potential lots that are created if the lot line's moved, meet the definition of RSF 4?
That's correct, yeah.
Okay. I'll second the motion.
All right, so we had a motion to recommend approval, and Mr. Bias is seconding that motion. Any questions or comments on the motion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Roll call. Boy, y'all are hitting the roll calls tonight. That's all right.
Mr. Bias?
Yes.
Mr. Mullick?
No.
Mr. Seibert?
Yes.
Ms. Burnett?
No.
Mr. Fletcher?
Yes.
Mr. Waters?
Yes.
Mr. Key?
No.
Mr. Chairman?
I can't vote on this one either. I would create a tie. So the motion carries.
Yes.
Motion is approved to recommend approval to the county commission. All right. This will be sent on to the county commission. They'll have a advertisement period for a public hearing, and at their meeting, you'll have to get with staff to find out when that date would be for their public hearing. They make the final decision on this particular item. Okay. Everybody ready to continue on, or do you need to take a break?
We're good.
I don't see any breaks. So, all right, we'll open public hearing now for Z25-16 SR Development LLC property. Anybody need to declare prior communication on this item? Kenzie?
All right, this is Z2516 SR Development property. They are requesting to rezone the property from RA to B2. Here's the property location in Planning District 22. The property is located east of County Road 87 and south of County Road 32, and it's about 2.55 acres, and it's currently vacant. The adjacent properties are zoned RSF1 and B2 and have residential and commercial uses. This subject property is situated in Planning District 22, which was adopted in November of 2002. There have been minimal changes in the local conditions. However, all of the immediately adjacent properties have been rezoned to either RSF1 or B2. This proposed amendment appears to be a logical expansion and aligns with the existing development patterns, as the property is adjacent to a commercial property that is being developed and is across the street from another commercial property. This property is also located near a rural crossroad node, which aims to serve the needs of the community with a mix of retail and service uses scaled to the appropriate context of the area. So staff is recommending that ZVA be approved.
Okay, any questions for staff? Okay, I have one person signed up. Deanna, I'll let you come up, pronounce your last name, so I don't want to butcher it.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name's Deanna Heitch. I'm
okay.
also the applicant. I'm the one that asked you, do I need to sign up?
Okay.
So
Thank you.
I'm glad to answer any questions. I do know that during the work session, there was a question about intention for the property. There is not any development currently intended. Desire is to sell the parcel. We are also the developer of the commercial real estate to the west. At the time that we purchased the parcel, it was only being sold as a 5-acre parcel. We did come to you and ask for rezoning of that 2.52 that is being developed. It was recommended by staff at that time to only do that 2.52 and then come back to you, and so we followed their recommendation.
Okay.
Glad to answer any other questions.
Any other questions, or any questions, for Ms. Height? Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
That's all I have signed up to speak. I'll close the public hearing. If there are no questions or comments, I'll entertain a motion. This is a recommendation also to the County Commission.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion. We recommend approval to the County Commission.
Mr. Syvert's made a motion. We recommend approval. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Mr. Mullick seconds the motion. Any questions or comments on the motion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Chairman votes aye. Motion carries. All right, next is our TA 25-02 amendment to the public, amendment to the Baldwin County zoning ordinance on Planning District 26. This is a public hearing, right, Mr.
Yes, it is.
Okay. Does anybody need to declare prior communication on this? Okay, Mr. Dixon.
Okay, as we discussed during work session, this is a follow-up to the previous text amendment that we had a few months ago. Just a little bit of the background. These proposed amendments to the local provisions of District 26 were presented to the Planning Commission back in March, and subsequently went on to the County Commission in March as well. And at that meeting, the Planning Commission recommended approval of these local provisions, but when we got to the County Commission, there was some discussion and concern about how much public input and public discussion had happened with the residents of Point Clear about this amendment. So they pulled that from the TA 2501 amendment, and we held a public meeting with the community out there on March 27th. From all that, we had a lot of positive feedback. Actually, there was no negative feedback, but it was a good exercise for the residents out there to really understand what the amendments meant and kind of how they would be used in developments in that area. So we got support from them, but during that process, we also kind of discovered from some other applications that there was an oversight in some allowable uses in the B1, which is the professional business district, and the B2 local business district allowable uses. So we included those amendments in this follow-up text amendment as well. So just to remind everyone what those amendments meant for local District 26, it was about the allowing PRDs within District 26. Previously, it was explicitly disallowed that you could not do a PRD in District 26. But through those discussions with the residents and everyone out there, that they would like to allow them with some kind of extra conditions on what a PRD has to be within a local District 26. So what we proposed there, this is the same language we proposed last time. We just took out shall not be available, but say shall be available in District 26 for the developments that occupy a minimum of 250 contiguous acres. The open space and common area reservations for PRDs within District 26 shall be a minimum of 50% of the gross land area. As a refresher, that's, standard PRDs across the county require 20% of open space. That district, that we upped that to 50% of open space. And of that open space requirement, half of it has to be reserved for outdoor recreational uses such as equestrian facilities, golf courses, country clubs, parks, pedestrian walkways, and recreational facilities. So we were very specific about what those open space uses had to be and to fit the character of the community of Planning District 26. So that's how we got back to where we are today on that. Like I said, that's the same exact language that you all heard back in March. Let's see what's going on there. As I mentioned on the B1 and B2 zoning districts, we discovered that the fitness center / gym use was mistakenly disallowed. So what we were doing is adding that back in. But since these are low intensity zoning districts for commercial uses, we do think it's appropriate to allow them, but as a conditional use that would require commission site plan approval by the Planning Commission. So if this were to pass and be added into those local, to those zoning districts, any proposed gym or fitness center would have to come back to the Planning Commission for site plan approval, which is an appropriate way to handle it in those districts. But with that, we recommend, so in this, just like our other zoning cases, the Planning Commission is making a recommendation to the County Commission for this case, and staff recommends approval of TA 2502 as presented. We'd be glad to answer any questions.
Jay, when we vote on this, are we voting on the actual document itself, or are we voting on your recommendation?
It's voting on...
Because the reason I say that, you said it, and I looked real quick, you said contiguous acreage. That's not what's in the comments here on this.
It's the document itself is what
I want to make sure we're voting on the document.
Because that's what's advertised, and that's what's been published out for the public comment. So it's the document itself, yeah.
All right. Any questions for Mr. Dixon? Okay. My right-hand man is going to have to get me pulled up here. I'm slow. All right, we had one person signed up, so Michael Hutchison.
Yes, sir. Your staff has done a great job on setting up this whole PRD situation and improving it, and I applaud y'all for that. I'm at 16030 Scenic 98, Michael Hutchison. I have about 5.5 acres. So this type of PRD, having a threshold of 500 acres is pretty, the threshold of 250 acres, but the one that they're proposing to bring in is almost 500. So having a threshold of 250 acres contiguous is a pretty strong threshold, and I think that's a good thing for District 26. What I'm here to talk about, though, is the fact that this was an end run around the Point Clear Property Owners Association. And it may have gone through the leadership. I have no idea what transpired there. But there was no public meeting about this. And any law change in District 26 should go through the Point Clear Property Owners Association in a public meeting before it's brought before you guys or the County Commission. The fact that Billie Jo Underwood said, you know, we need to table this till there's more public comment. Well, I really applaud her for doing that because, you know, having this kind of ninth inning wild pitch is not acceptable. You know, I've been fighting this kind of thing for a long time, and finally the Point Clear Property Owners Association has had meetings and been clear, and a lot clearer in the last, I'd say, 6 years about what is going on. But we need to be advised as a group. It's a large organization. We need to be advised as a group of any law change in District 26 so we have time to look it over. If I'm the only dissenting person in the room, that's fine, you know, but I want to know what's happening. And I would like this to not happen again without going through that organization as a whole in a meeting.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, that's all I had signed up to speak. I'm going to close the public hearing. All right, Mr. Dixon, you have anything else?
No, sir.
All right. If no other question or comments, this again is a recommendation of the County Commission.
Mr. Chairman, I recommend that we approve case number TA 25-02.
Okay, so Mr. Key is recommending approval to the county commission. Have a second?
I'll second it.
Mr. Mullick, second the motion. Any questions, comments on the motion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Chairman votes aye. Motion carries. I'll ask one more time, do we need to take a break? We got 2 items left. All right, we're going to move on. Move to our subdivision cases now. First one is the SPP 25-01 Wellsbury subdivision. I'll open the public hearing on this, and I'll ask if there's any prior communication. Ms. Waters?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is application SPP 2501 Wellsbury subdivision. Request of preliminary plat approval for a 98-lot residential subdivision. Our recommendation for today, it is to table this request until further study by the third-party consultant has been done for the proposed traffic study. We'll dive into this a little bit as we go through. The developer is Creekwood LLC with Dewberry Engineers as their consultant. This subject property is located on County Road 32 on Planning District 39. I think my slide kind of skipped there. There we go. The property is currently zoned RSF3 and RSF4. The subject property located south of County Road 32 and west of State Highway 181, south from the elementary school for J. Larry Newton. As I stated, this is a preliminary plat request for 98 lots. Open space did not apply to this application as this was received prior to the current regulations were adopted. The public utilities will be served by, the water will be served by City of Fairhope, utilities, electrical by Baldwin EMC, the sewer by the Baldwin County Sewer Service treated at the Summerdale Treatment Plant, and broadband by AT&T. We did verify with Fairhope Utilities and obtained a new letter dated as of yesterday, since the name changed from Creekwood to Wellsbury, and they did have a slight lot increase from, I believe when they discussed with Fairhope Utilities was 95 lots and now increased it to 98 lots. So they did obtain a revised letter, just referencing those changes. The fire flow is adequate for the proposed setbacks for the subdivision. A traffic study was conducted by David Anderson with HSA Columbia. It was reviewed, originally revealed by the permit engineer from our department as well as the highway department, and has been, in an updated, has been requested to verify if additional traffic improvements at the intersection of State Highway 181 and County Road 32 may be required, as well as additional improvements at the entrance. Therefore, the needing of us to request for this to be tabled to allow for that third-party consultant to be able to review that revised traffic study. Their drainage narrative was reviewed and accepted by the Baldwin County, by the planning and zoning permit engineer. A wetland report was prepared by Kathy Barnett with Dewberry Engineers. The wetlands as shown have been identified as non-jurisdictional and are proposed to be filled. You see in the next slide. Staff has requested a jurisdictional determination from the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, and it requires for confirmation of the same before the applicant can submit construction plans review application. If the jurisdictional determination concludes that the proposed stormwater management areas is in fact jurisdictional, the applicant will be required to remove all proposed lots and common areas from within the wetland boundaries and the required 30-foot natural buffers. Just a little backstory here. Apologize, losing my voice. Case Z2416 was approved by the County Commission during the July 16, 2024 regular meeting to approve the rezoning request for the partial zoning change from RSF3 to RSF4. The development will be constructed into 2 phases. One entrance will be off County Road 32, and the second one will be on the south side via Dempsey Drive, a connecting right-of-way between Gaineswood Phase 2 and the Wellsbury subdivision. The first phase of the development will be limited to 50 lots until Dempsey Drive has been constructed and accepted for maintenance by the Baldwin County. All right, again, staff recommends this application to be tabled, but I did have specific conditions that were listed in your staff reports as outlined prior to changing the recommendation from approval to tabling this request. I'll go ahead and read them. The applicant shall provide staff with a revised traffic study that includes a right turn analysis. The county engineer will have the discretion to require additional traffic improvements at the development entrance and/or at the intersection of State Highway 181 and County Road 32. Before applying for construction plans review, the applicant shall provide staff with a jurisdictional determination from the U.S. Corps of Engineers regarding the proposed fill within the stormwater management areas. If the Corps determines that the area is jurisdictional, the applicant will be required to remove all lots from the jurisdictional wetlands and the required 30-foot natural buffer. The applicant will provide staff an updated drainage study reflecting the phases of the development with the submittal of the construction plans review application, and add a note to the preliminary plat reflecting the lots that are going to be proposed to be filled. Here is the green area is the as proposed non-jurisdictional areas. They are proposed to be filled, and if the Corps of Engineers does not agree with the delineation from Dewberry, the lots in blue will be the lots that are having to be removed to comply with our current regulations of no lots are allowed to be filled for buildable areas on jurisdictional wetlands. And here is your phasing, as well as reflecting the proposed connection of Dempsey Road to Gaineswood Phase 2. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Any questions for staff?
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Brandon.
I was going to ask, you say it's connecting to Dempsey Road, and I'm looking at a county parcel map. Is Dempsey Road part of the Gaineswood expansion or additional phase?
Yeah, so Dempsey Road is currently listed as part of the Wellsbury subdivision,
Okay.
but it's going to connect into another right-of-way that is Gaineswood, which is directly south of it.
Okay. Is that a neighborhood subdivision under construction currently?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Fabio, the first specific condition says the applicant shall provide staff with a revised traffic study that includes right turn analysis. Has that traffic study been provided? Is that the one that's being reviewed by the third party?
Yes.
So it's the county that has asked a third party to review what is ostensibly a second traffic study
Yes.
about this. And then it goes on to say that the county engineer will have the discretion to require additional traffic improvements. I'm assuming those would come from the, whatever the third party reviewer brings back, or whatever else may come. I'm struggling with why are we tabling this if it says, pretty clearly that the county engineer is going to have some discretion to require additional traffic improvements. I don't understand why we're kicking the can down the road for another month or two. There's nothing to say that next month, the third party reviewer hasn't finished yet,
right.
Or whatever. And this is, I'm struggling with that.
We'll defer to the planning director and assistant county director for that.
Well, as we discussed in the work session, this is a kind of a complicated traffic area, and then a lot of those concerns came up during the rezoning process last year. When we have complex situations like this, it's always a good idea to be as specific as we can about the required improvements, because a lot of times when we have fairly generic conditions like that, the requirements on the back end become quite an argument and a debate. So what we would like to do, especially in an area like this that has so many different complexities with the traffic and transportation patterns, that we'd rather have those answers up front so we know that we're properly conditioning the subdivision, which is, again, that's how the process is set up. All the traffic questions came up rezoning, but the traffic answers are with the subdivision process, and we're trying to get the answers to that before we recommend approval of a subdivision. Mark, you can add anything more to that.
We just, and we have spoken with the third-party consultant as early as yesterday morning, and they're prepared to turn this around as quickly as possible so that we can stay on track for the next meeting.
But ultimately, they're going to have to, they're either going to, I mean, frankly, they either agree to these conditions as they sit right here, or agree to very specific ones, or disagree with them. That seems pretty clear that the county engineer is going to have some discretion. So when that comes back, if they want to add, if he wants to add X, Y, and Z to it, they can agree to that at that point, or not. We can kill it tonight or later on.
Yeah,
I just don't understand why we're prolonging it.
You certainly have the option, but I would recommend that when we have situations like this, that we're very, very clear on the front end so the public understands and the applicant understands exactly what's going to be required to accommodate the development. That's why the process is set up the way it's set up.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for staff? Okay, Ms. Barnett?
Do you want to open the public hearing?
I thought I did. But if you're not, then I'll open the public hearing now for you. Come on. You're the only one signed up.
Excellent. You told me to make my best case forward, so I'm going to do my best.
I did it because I have a question for you.
Yes, sir.
But you go ahead and make your presentation first.
Okay. Well, I was a little sidetracked because I didn't expect this coming. But, okay, so here's my reasons why we would like for you to approve it tonight. We have been working towards an approved plat for about 4 months. We've gone back and forth with staff and attempted to address the traffic questions and concerns, resubmitted a number of traffic studies, met with staff to come up with the proper alignment, shifted things down, trying to align with the school. So we've been responsive to the pressures, which Mr. Dixon's talking about, with the fact that there is a lot of interest in this and doing it right. But ultimately, any plat that you approve, because you're not looking at construction plans for your procedure, are always going to have contingencies or questions that are still on the table. Take, for example, the one we did, Will's Place tonight. There's questions about right-of-way, there's questions about lot shapes, all of that. That was approved this evening, which to me has a lot more questions because you're talking about the plat. These off-site improvements are not going to be on the plat. So although there will be a better understanding of what the traffic improvements are, the plat, which is what's being reviewed tonight, not the construction plans, won't be reflected. So, and then the other concern was, was there going to be a huge outcry at the public? I'm the only one here for the subdivision. So again, to table it, if there were a lot of folks that had come tonight to say, how are you addressing the traffic, then it would be responsible potentially to say, let's get a better answer. The condition says we're going to have to comply. The client understands that we're going to have to comply. There's always things that come through the construction plan review. So for that, obviously, we'd like to see you vote in the affirmative tonight. If you feel like you don't have that information, then naturally, we would prefer you table it and get that information. And we respect staff and their concerns. I don't mean to sound disrespectful, but that's my best try.
Okay?
Oh, and I did want to add, just because it's always a topic of discussion and my heart is the environmental stuff, the jurisdictional determination, which seemed a little speculative, is not really that speculative. I did want to add that we did get an email sent to Ms. Waters and Sean from the Corps of Engineers that said that they concurred with my assessment. So we're not guessing or playing a game and hopeful that this is what's going to happen, that the Corps, also agrees with my assessment, but because EPA has to certify and sign off and it's a process, they can't officially say that right now because there's a joint Corps of Engineer and EPA procedure. So we do have in writing that the Corps, in fact, does agree with what I've presented as non-jurisdictional. So I mean, EPA could EPA, but there's not a lot of question about that status either.
Okay, so you got ahead of me because that's exactly the question I was going to
Yes,
ask
sir.
you.
That's why I said, oh, wait.
Because it seems to be more of a concern. Those blue lots were one thing, but that wetland was going down the middle of your entrance roadway that would have to be addressed if in fact it were wetland. So,
And I had a fill permit actually, but with some of the cleanup of the language, we were about to issue that permit, and so.
okay. Any other questions for Ms. Barnett?
Kathy, I'm assuming, I mean, based on what you're asking us to do, you are comfortable with the conditions that staff has put in place?
Yes, sir, we are. Ultimately, the county always has control during that construction plan review, so we're eager to see the results in 2 weeks or 3 weeks anyway, because it gives the developer a better idea of how to pencil the project and get it underway and move forward. So, yes, sir.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Any other questions? Ms. Barnett? Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Ms. Waters, you have anything else to add?
No, sir.
I'm going to close the public hearing. That's all I had signed up, so no other questions or comments. I'll entertain a motion. This is ours, so you'll be making a motion up or down on this one or table, whichever way you choose.
I'll make the motion to approve with both the specific conditions and general conditions.
All right, Mr. Fletcher's made a motion to approve.
Seconded.
Mr. Seibert has seconded the motion. Any questions or comments on the motion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Chairman votes aye also. Motion carries. All right, last item. Open public hearing for case number SD 24-07, Tracy Ingram variance. Does anybody need to declare prior communication on this item? Ms. Waters?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you mentioned, this is case SV 2507, Tracy Ingram subdivision variance. The request in front of you today is a variance from the minimum lot size requirement outlined in section 516G of the Baldwin County subdivision regulations, which states that the minimum lot size for RV parks shall be 3 acres. Staff's recommendation is of denial. Please disregard this front page because this is not the correct owner's information. The property owner is Ms. Ingram. This development is in Planning District 13, which is unzoned. The general location of this property is south of Goat Cooper Road on the north side of the Styx River. As I mentioned, this is unzoned. The total property area is 2.82 acres. The applicant was Mr. John Bird, and the owner is Ms. Tracy Ingram. The applicant is requesting a variance from the minimum lot size requirement outlined in section 516G of the Baldwin County subdivision regulations, which states that the minimum lot size for an RV park shall be 3 acres. The proposed RV park currently has an active code case enforcement, and a notice of violation has been issued due to the placement and occupancy of 3 or more RV units on the property without an approved planned unit development. Staff does not believe the hardship is unique to the property and finds that, in fact, it is self-inflicted. Therefore, staff believes that the approval of this variance request would not be consistent with the requirements of Article 5, Section 516 of the Baldwin County subdivision regulations. Our staff comments and recommendation here, as previously mentioned, the variance is for the minimum lot size area, and unless information to the contrary is reviewed to the public hearing, staff feels that this variance request should be recommended denial due to non-compliance with the subdivision regulations. My specific conditions are that should the Planning Commission go with the recommendation of denial, the applicant shall disconnect and remove all unauthorized utility connections, including water and sewer or septic, and electrical serving the RVs beyond the allowable limit under the current regulations. No more than 2 RVs may remain connected unless otherwise approved. The property shall be inspected by code enforcement and/or the building department staff to confirm removal of the RV units and utility disconnection. I have included the condition here that should the Planning Commission grant this variance, a complete planned unit development application, including a hydrologic and hydraulic H&H analysis, must be submitted for review. The PUD must address the floodplain and floodway mitigation measures. Go forward here. Here is your variance request stated by the applicant. The applicant stated that where it is found that extraordinary hardships or practical difficulties may result from strict compliance with the subdivision regulations and/or purposes of the subdivision regulations may be served to a greater extent by an alternative proposal, the Baldwin County Planning and Zoning Commission may approve the variances of these subdivision regulations so that substantial justice may be done to the public interest secured, provided that such variance shall not have the effect of nullifying the intent and purpose of these regulations. The variance, if approved, shall be noted on the final site plan. In this case, a variance shall not be approved unless found to be appropriate under the factors below. And the applicant's response was that there's only 0.18 acres shy of the 3 acres minimum required. The next question was, please explain how the granting of the variance would not be detrimental to the public safety, health, or welfare, or injurious to the property. The minimum lot size is the variance is being requested. Granted of the variance will not be detrimental to the public health or welfare or injurious to other property stated by the applicant. Please explain how the conditions upon which the request for a variance is based are unique to the property for which the variance is sought. The property owner, Ms. Ingram, applied for and was issued what she thought were the appropriate permits to meet the regulations of an RV park from the Baldwin County Building Department. If the property did not meet the minimum requirements and she were never issued the permits, the violation would have been avoided. That was the response from the applicant. The fourth, please explain whether the variance would not in any manner vary from the provisions of other adopted policy and regulations of the Baldwin County Commission. The variance would not in any manner vary from the provisions of other adopted policy and regulations of the Baldwin County Commission. The variance requested is only for the 3-acre minimum lot size. Continue here. This is an excerpt from the Baldwin County Floodplain Development Ordinance. And I'm just going to read section 2, where encroachments, including fill, new construction, substantial improvements, or other development are prohibited within the adopted regulatory floodway unless it is demonstrated through a nature analysis performed in accordance with standard engineering practices that the proposed encroachment would not result in any increase in BFEs during the occurrence of the base flood discharge. Here is a snip of the notice of action that was issued to the property owner on June 8th of 2022. Here is your flood map. I have highlighted the subject property, and as you can see, most of the vicinity is in the AE flood zone, and everything that is inside the two green lines is your floodway here. So the entire parcel, it's in the floodway. And here is your aerial imagery of what was at one point the RV units on the subject property. It is my understanding that most of them have been removed, if not all. Here is a survey of the property that was done. And in here, it did show 15 RVs as per the survey. Here's the documentation provided by the applicant, which is a electrical permit application issued in 2021 from the Baldwin County Building Department that was for a hookup for a new service for an RV. And that's all that I have. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, any questions for staff? Okay. All right, I have two people signed up, Tracy Ingram. No, Tracy?
She's not speaking.
Not going to speak, so I take it you are, Mr. Davis.
I'm Richard Davis. I'm a local attorney. My office is on Pollard Road, and I had the pleasure of representing Tracy and Robert Ingram. I've sat here for 2 hours thinking about the first thing I might say to y'all, and when I get home and I tell my sweet wife what the first thing I said was, she may say, "You're kidding me," but I'm still going to say it. Tonight, we're here for a variance, and the purpose of a variance is to reach substantial justice. We recognize that the minimum requirement for an RV park is 3 acres. We don't have 3 acres. But to get substantial justice, it's difficult for me to stand up here and say you got to pay me my hourly rate to come and tell you that. I haven't charged these folks for months, and I don't plan to. These folks stumbled into a violation. If you look at the electrical permit that Ms. Waters just pulled up, it says RV park on it. When they purchased, just below the permit number. When they purchased this property, there were 5 slips. They, on their own, built another 10, really without understanding what the issue was. The survey shows 2.82 acres, and I'm guessing that Mr. Pumphrey had the same great math teacher that I did, only a few years ahead of me, and if he were standing here, he'd have chalk on his pants and he would say, "Oh, you ought to go ahead and round up to 3. So that's what I'm asking you to do, is to treat this as if this is 3 acres. I'm not asking for subdivision approval tonight. I'm not asking for PUD approval tonight. I'm asking you to give us a variance to treat this so that we can go from here and then apply, as Ms. Waters says, for PUD approval and an H&H analysis. You just heard Kathy Barnett. I'm sure she'd be the person we'd hire to do this. The subdivision regs say 15 units per acre. If you round it up to 3 acres, that would give us 45 sites. We're not interested in 45 sites. We're interested in 15 sites. Now, I don't think there's any opposition here tonight. The one area where I disagree with Ms. Waters, and I've worked with the staff for years, is the staff's finding that this is self-inflicted. And I'm struggling with that notion All the staff did was, all the Ingrams did was buy a site that they thought would be perfect for this purpose, without, again, realizing that they needed 3 acres and subdivision approval. May I continue for 30 more seconds? I understand, and I've visited the site several times now, that if you're in the season, we're not in the season yet, but if you go down there in a month, you're going to find properties on Styx River, at least on the north side where I was, where there are RVs, campers everywhere. And I'm asking you to let these folks who are trying to comply with the law, just to give us this one variance to a minimum site standard of 2.82 acres, so we can come back and apply for PUD approval and provide the H&H analysis. I can't think of anything else to say.
Okay. All right, any questions for Mr. Davis?
Was I right about the chalk on the pants? Did we have the same teacher?
We did.
Okay.
All right, no questions? Thank you, sir. I guess not. All right.
Steve, Fabi, I'm sorry, when did the notice of violation go out?
I believe, okay, June 8, 2022.
So the notice of violation went out in 2022. Mr. Davis, when did they purchase this?
I have a timeline here. Well, I should also have said, there are no RVs there right now. They purchased it September 10, 2020.
And the electrical permit was issued on February 10th of 2021.
So I guess my issue is they purchased this in 2020. They get the violation in 2022, and it's 2025 that we're asking for the variance. It seems like in that 5-year period, we could have, removed our ignorance of the process, and put this together correctly instead of, as we deal with on a number of occasions, instead of asking for forgiveness and begging for forgiveness instead of asking for permission.
If I may respond.
Certainly.
You had to come up to the mic, Richard.
I can't tell you that I disagree with it. I know they've been in my office for probably a year and a half where we've tried to figure out the way to go about this.
Sure.
And we've determined that the best way to go about this is to ask for the variance and then not object to the PUD, but to try, if we get the variance, then we come back with the PUD application and an H&H analysis, which will be expensive, particularly on a per unit basis for 15 units. And Kathy has told me what that's going to cost. It's substantial. And again, there are no units out on the property at this time. You ride up and down Goat Cooper Road, and there are units all over the place on the north side of Styx River, but not on our property. So, Mr. Stevens, I'm not telling you it was handled perfectly.
Oh, I understand that.
But they did, when they purchased it, they got the septic permit and they got the electric permit. And they thought that was good.
But the electrical permit was for an RV hookup.
Well,
that's singular, that's not 15.
Well, I've read it, I've studied it. At the top of that electrical permit, it says RV park.
I can answer that real. That was in their early stages of citizen serve, and there was only one category for RVs, and they all said RV park, but it meant like to park an RV, not a park development, yeah.
And here down below is the application that the applicant filled, that she did put in the description, the detailed scope of work, RV hookup, instead of an RV park, if that's what she, what she intended to pursue.
And, and understand, I'm not trying to be difficult. I understand what you're asking for, but while on the surface, it sounds very simple to round up to 3 acres. But that could be a precedent-setting roundup, which is, a concern. Thank you.
And I fully expected someone to say, we don't want to set a precedent, and I'm just saying it's so close, and these are good folks who thought they were doing the right thing, and they've got an electrical permit that says RV park. So, I know you do. Thank you for your questions.
And I just wanted to say that staff does have great concerns with the location of this proposed development. Just within the most recent storm events that Baldwin County has had, the development across the river, just south of it, had to be evacuated because of the heavy flooding that they received in this area. So it is one of those areas where the H&H possibly will provide us further guidance, because this is a very unique area for a type of development like this.
And we don't just, we're all in, and we think that's the next step, as long as we can get to that point. Okay? I appreciate the dialogue, sir. I really do. All right. Any other questions or comments? All right,
So
with that,
I've got a question. So that there's other structures that I can see that are in the AE flood zone, correct?
Yeah, so if you can,
Homes.
yeah, everything that you can see outside of the green lines is the AE flood zone. So there are homes, the majority of the whole RV park on the south side, on the north side, there are structures, yes. But the
Right, and
floodway is what we're most concerned of here, which is what's inside the green lines.
So the floodway is different than the flood zone?
Yes, the floodway actually measures the elevation of the river. And as you put structures right in the floodway, those structures may impact the actual elevation of the flow of the river, or the creek in this case. No, Styx River, yes.
So it's hard to tell from this map. Are there other homes within the floodway or structures on other properties?
According to this map, there appears to be so, yes.
Okay.
So the other thing so we have our flood prevention ordinance, which is separate from our zoning ordinance and our subdivision regulations. And its entire, it's a statewide, it's a statute, it's not a local statute, it's a statewide statute that allows counties to develop flood prevention and flood zone ordinances. And the purpose of it is to limit the amount of development and things that happen in the floodways, because obviously that's putting a lot of property at risk and potentially lives at risk. So even if this goes through a variance, there's countless other challenges that meets with several of our other regulations. So again, this is not really something that's appropriate in the floodway. This is kind of the opposite of what we're trying to accomplish with our flood prevention ordinance and limit development in those floodways. So that's why we have the recommendation we have.
Okay. Any other questions? All right. Are we ready for a motion?
I'll make a motion for denial based upon staff conditions.
All right, Mr. Bice is making a motion that we deny the request.
Second.
All right. Mr. Mullick has seconded that motion. Okay. Any questions, comments on the motion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Just want to make sure you had the conditions included in your motion?
Actually, I think he did say subject to
Okay,
conditions.
sorry.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And chairman votes aye. That motion carries. All right. All right. That is all of our cases for the night. Any public comments? I'll make sure I don't miss this. We've had a couple where some have talked about wanting to speak at public comments. All right, no comments from the public. Staff reports.
No, sir, we have no other reports.
You got one, you should tell us. This is Miss Mitchell's last night.
Yes.
So if you didn't know that, we're sad to see her go. Foley's going to be fortunate to get her. So thank you. Thank you for all that you've done in helping us in our meetings. We appreciate it and wish you the best. So nothing else, Jay?
That was it.
All right, legal counsel, you've been quiet tonight. We didn't call on you one time, so. Got anything? No updates on our wedding venue? No. Okay. Keep waiting for something on that to crop back up, but I understand from where we were the last time where it was at, but I didn't know if it was coming.
All right, one thing. Jay, since the county commission pulled that one provision for District 26 from that big set of amendments, I'm assuming they approved the rest of them?
They approved everything else. That was
So we're done with the rezonings?
This is the last meeting for rezoning, Judge.
All right. Oh, go ahead.
Just a recommendation for you to look at, if you would. In municipal zoning ordinances, I've seen wording that if a lot line movement does not increase the nonconformity of the lot, it can happen. It just seems like this didn't have wording in our ordinance.
Right.
And if you would look at that, because I just think rezoning, depends on what the county commission does, but may not be the solution.
That was our point. Rezoning is not the solution, and we can look at that text and understand if there's, because I agree with you, because your comment was correct, we're actually reducing a lot by that reconfiguration, but the way it's written right now, you just wouldn't allow it. But we'll certainly look into that and also kind of relook at that case too, since we know what they're trying to accomplish, and see if there's, something, because you're right, that rezoning that area in the middle of everything else, especially in Fort Morgan to RSF4, just doesn't, I mean, it's contrary to everything in our regulations. So, yeah.
Okay, anybody have anything else? All right, then we are adjourned until our next meeting, which is going to be June 5th. See everyone then.